Welcome to the best generation, best model, best trim, and best make of any car ever made. This is the 997 Porsche GT3 RS. It is definitely the best driving experience of any car I've ever driven. Kind of known for that, but I'm going to drive it this weekend. I'm going to see what it's like, but this car is freaking crazy. Looks crazy, feels crazy, and I think there's still a bargain. So here we are, like I said, this is the 997 generation of the 911. This is the GT3 RS, which is kind of the track version, and it's a lightweight version of the track version. It has the infamous red wheels, the red decals, the red mirrors on the gray paint. Very, very cool, very recognizable. You can't really miss this car. And honestly, this is like the best driving experience of any car I've ever driven. So this weekend, I'm going to take you guys along, drive the car around, take you to some events, let you know what I think of it. Hey guys, we're in the 997 GT3 RS. First thing I gotta say is this car is literally perfect. From after driving for about a day now, if you're looking at any other car in this price range, which is probably like in USD is probably about 260, and you don't get this, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. This is probably the most fun car I've ever driven in my life. It's literally perfect. It's very simple. Just everything's kind of directly to the point. No extra gadgets, nothing extra to distract you. Just pretty much you, the car, last manual transmission RS, other than the GT2 RS and the 4.0, which were the same year. Yeah, and that's a stock exhaust. Sounds so freaking good. We're just stuck behind somebody right now, so we can't push it too much. But yeah, I mean, the design of this car, everything is just perfect. It's not a big car, it's a very small car, but it's got enough aggressive kind of design cues, like the big spoiler. Obviously this has the iconic like red wheels, the iconic spec with the gray and the red accents. It's just so good. Like, you let the rev build up and it just sounds so freaking good. So yeah, pretty much what makes this thing so good is that the power delivery just so linear. It's just very smooth power delivery, but you still feel like everything going on. The suspension is just stiff enough to where it's not too stiff, but it's very engaging. The gear shifter is very heavy. It's like, it's not an easy car to drive. So I back-to-back drove my GT4 in this, and this is just like a lot more rewarding, a lot harder. The clutch is so heavy, one of the heaviest clutches I've ever felt, but because of it being kind of hard enough, it keeps you engaged. You're not going to get bored driving this. As much as I'd love to say all 911s can be daily drivers, this is not a daily driver. This is, you know, when you get into traffic with this, you're actually like, fuck, like, I don't want to press the clutch in, I don't want to do that. Like, it's just going to be a lot of work. Whereas in a lot of modern supercars, it's not actually that hard. People might complain about it, but it's just not that hard. Here it is a lot harder to drive, but it makes this car so good, so raw. It makes you kind of feel everything a little more, appreciate it when you do have a nice open road, plus you get that sound and the smooth power delivery, and just the way this car handles, like 997 is just the best generation 911 in my opinion. It's like the perfect mix between analog and enough digital computer assists and all that to make it good, but not too much of the computer doing everything. So I've been driving this car for about a day, and honestly this car definitely lives up to the expectations. I can't believe how good this car is. It's just as good as it looks. And yeah, I think it is honestly like the best car ever made. It's just like a driver's car, and it feels a lot more special than, you know, other Porsches. Kind of the problem with, not even a problem, but kind of the thing with Porsche that I found before is that they're kind of a little too usable, which is a very good thing, but also a bad thing at the same time, because you kind of, when it's a car that's that good and that fun, but you feel like you can drive it every day, it kind of takes out the specialness of it, because you do end up driving it every day. But this is a car that's kind of tough to drive, so you're not gonna be in the mood to drive it every day, but when you are, it's always going to put a smile on your face. You're never going to drive it and kind of be miserable. This is so much fun. But let me guys show you around some of the cool features about it, but I'm in love with this car. So this might be the most kind of iconic known spec for this car, which is the dark gray with all the red accents. This has all the red accents you can get. Some of them didn't get the stripe here or the GT3 RS here, but here you have the red wheels, and because these are the steel brakes, you also have the red brake calipers. Obviously the red GT3 RS sticker right here, the red decals on the side, and the red mirrors. Now this specific car is also fitted with the red seat belts, which kind of sticks out a little more. And it's got the red kind of side panels here for the wing. Obviously big carbon fiber ring that you get in the RS, which is bigger than the regular GT3 wing. This car is so special. It looks so cool. Normally you drive like a special 911, people don't really know the difference between a regular, like, you know, a turbo or something to a Carrera, so they don't really look at you. But in this car gets a lot of attention. People really know that it's special. You can really tell. Now, most of the modern GT cars come with the 918 bucket seats, which are kind of tighter than this. They look a little bit newer, but I personally prefer these bucket seats more. They're a little bit wider, a little bit more comfortable, but yeah, they're still carbon fiber. And this is kind of the old interior, the old steering wheel, but still very cool. Alcantara with the yellow line on the top. Is the RS 3.8, because obviously this is the regular GT3 RS. There is the 4.0 model, but that is extremely rare and extremely expensive. Also, just like other GT models, has the door strap as a handle. But yeah, very cool. Obviously, it is older, so you get the older tech from the 997 generation. But yeah, very cool overall. Now, something you get with the RS models is the center lock wheels, which is a very cool feature. It's kind of something small that you would notice on these cars. But yeah, overall, honestly, this car totally lives up to the expectations. I freaking love it. I'm going to keep driving it. This is not over. I'm going to keep telling you what I think about it throughout the weekend. But yeah, so far so good. But yeah, let's keep driving it and see what it's like. Okay, so it's my third day with the GT3 RS. I'm definitely not getting tired of it. And yeah, like what I've been really thinking about this car, which is very cool because you really don't get this in a lot of Porsches, especially not newer Porsches, is they're so much fun to drive normally, but the problem with all the 911s, which is not even, it depends who you ask if it's a problem or not, but they're very easy to drive. So even if it's a manual or whatever it is, you can kind of feel like you can drive it all day long, every day, and you're not going to get tired. This car, the clutch is, again, I said this before, but it's literally the heaviest clutch I've ever felt in any car. The shifter as well is kind of pretty stiff, so it's tough to get it into gear. So it just makes you work a lot more for, you know, for driving the car, for enjoying it. And I think that's a good thing because, one, you're not going to be driving this car every day and every chance you get. So that's going to kind of keep the car feeling special if you do own it, because you're only going to take it out, you know, once in a while, and you're really going to enjoy it, because honestly, this car is so much fun. But I just find that most supercars now, they're just like normal cars to drive. Like, people say like, oh, you can't drive this car every day, you can't drive that every day. But I think that's crap. Like, I think most supercars, especially anything in the last 20 years, are easy enough that you could drive them every day as long as the weather's, you know, decently nice. None of them are actually hard to drive. Like, this is actually a little bit hard to drive, so you do have to work a little bit more to get this thing going. But yeah, it just makes it feel so much more special. It doesn't feel like a regular 911. And another thing that's very significant with this car is the fact that this is one of the last kind of raw, especially manual, but kind of raw feeling, more like old school supercars, especially the track focused supercars. After this, they kind of moved on to PDK for Porsche. Everybody started going with the dual clutch transmissions, the automatics, whatever is easier, whatever gets you the best track times, not really thinking too much about the driver feel. This car feels like it's all about the driver feel. It's just so satisfying to drive. It is very fast, but it also feels a lot faster than it actually is. And it just feels like you gotta really work for it. And cars nowadays don't have that. It's a little thing that's just missing with the car that just makes it, you know, a million times more fun than anything modern. And I think these cars are a great buy. And a big reason why I say, like, if you're looking for something in this price range and you're a car guy and you buy something different, like, I don't know what you're doing, is because they're never gonna make anything like this ever again. You know, you buy something else from this era, like a 430 Scuderia, or, you know, even a Gallardo Superleggera. Yes, they're raw. Yes, they're, you know, still kind of old school, but it's not to the level of this. This, if you want this driving experience, you have to buy this. There's no choice, and there's not a lot of these around. Back then, not as many people were buying supercars as now. So these things are gonna go crazy in price. You see already the 4.0 is going for, you know, close to $1 million, if not probably some of them hitting $1 million, is because there's just no replacement for them. I really believe in these cars. And again, like I said, this is the best all-around sports car ever made. If you want to be flashy, it's one of the only 911s that's really flashy, but it's also not like obnoxious. It's the most fun to drive. It's kind of practical. You get a big trunk, you can throw some stuff in the back seats if you really want to do a rally or a road trip in one. It's just, you know, people don't hate you in this car, because I feel like if you buy this car, you're not buying it to show off. You're actually a car enthusiast. And you get the sound. Oh, that sound is so good. I did not expect this car to sound this good. I actually had to ask the owner if this is stock exhaust or not, because I just really didn't expect that. But about this car, the way it moves. Obviously, because this is a 911, all the weight is in the back at the engine, so the front just feels so nimble, like you can just turn it into anywhere. But on the other hand, the steering is not too light where it feels kind of electronic or like it's doing it itself. The steering is heavy enough that you know you're doing it. It's just, everything in this car is just so good. It's just kind of made to perfection. And even the outside does, like, you know, the styling is obviously over the top with the red wheels and the red mirrors and this and that. But I feel like it just really, really, really works on this car. Now, obviously, because of how good this car is and the good kind of reviews that this car gets and how much everybody likes it and how disappointed people were where the next generation only got PDK, Porsche did try to go back and make some manual cars, especially GT cars. They didn't make any more manual RSs, so this is like the last year for the manual RSs, but they made the new manual GT3s and stuff, and I haven't driven a new manual GT3. My GT4 I do like, but it's different than this. But again, from what I'm hearing from people that own the manual GT3s, is a lot of people are actually saying it's probably a better idea to get PDK for those cars. Again, I haven't driven a 992 or any GT3s at all. I'm probably gonna get to drive a PDK and a manual one very soon. And even my friend like Jason, who owns the manual one, he says I'm probably going to prefer the PDK, which is a bold statement because I usually like manual everything. So even though, yeah, Porsche are trying to go back to the roots and make manual cars, it's not like this. Just everything, the package put together in this car, just something that's never going to be recreated again. It's a lot lighter, a lot smaller, a lot more nimble than the new cars. You're just not going to get this again. And when I say this is the best sports car ever made, like, I mean it. Like, Porsche makes the best cars, and this is the best Porsche, pretty much. Other than the Carrera GT, but I feel like that's a little more intimidating than this, that you won't be, you know, as willing to push it as hard as you will be willing to push this. So yeah, overall, I think this is definitely like up there with the best cars ever made, best all-around cars. Did not disappoint. You know, a lot of times people say don't meet your heroes. I always thought this is probably one of the best cars, and I finally get to drive, and I get to drive for an extensive period of time, and I gotta own this at some point. At some point in my life, I will buy one of these cars. So I just drove downtown to try to like drive around downtown and film a little bit around here. And honestly, like, this car is more work to drive than almost any car I've ever driven before. Like, honestly, I'm heading back north just because it's like a little, it's a weird amount of traffic today, and the clutch is just like too heavy for me to deal with it. I just don't really want to deal with it anymore, which I've honestly never had to do in any other car. So like, I'm just heading north. I'm going to drive in like more open roads because this was too much. Okay guys, so that's it for my review of the Gt3 Rs, but make sure you subscribe because that's not over for the weekend. I have this car for 2 more days. I'm going to be taking it to some car shows, just doing random stuff with it, whatever kind of happens. So stay subscribed. In a few more days, I'll probably have another video with this car and a lot of other cars and some other stuff. And yeah, see you next time.